What is up, guys? If you have been playing Genshin, following Genshin creators, and taking a look at the Genshin community, you guys may have realized that for the past few weeks, Genshin is in a pretty sketchy state. A lot of people are quitting the game, a lot of creators are making negative content about the game. If you take a look, almost every big creator is talking something bad about Genshin. Why are the players finally quitting Genshin? I am quitting Genshin and you should too. The reality of Genshin in 2026, apparently people are finally quitting Genshin Impact. So what even is going on? Why are so many people suddenly quitting Genshin Impact? Did hoyoverse do something wrong? Let's take a deep dive into whatever is going on. I feel like a major trigger of the sudden hate in Genshin is because the current patch in Genshin is really bad. When it comes to the amount of pulls, this patch is giving something around 60-ish pulls, 60, 65, really a low number of pulls. And add to that an event that is literally related to Miliastra Wonderland. Now, ever since Genshin has dropped Miliastra Wonderland, it has been a very controversial topic to discuss about. While some people really love Miliastra Wonderland, some people absolutely hate it, and they say that they would rather have hoyoverse give them an option to completely remove this game mode so that they can save some storage, which, let's be real, that is definitely a valid concern because Miliastra Wonderland is pretty big and Genshin just keeps getting bigger. On mobile, they did give an option to uninstall previous updates, but on PC and on consoles, it is still a big issue. I mean, Genshin is like 160 gigs on PS5, absolutely massive game, and on PC it's somewhat similar. So it's a lot of storage, and Miliastra Wonderland is a big part in it. Well, that aside, a lot of people don't like Miliastra Wonderland, so in a desperate attempt to push people to play this game mode, they actually started rewarding Primo Gems for playing Miliastra Wonderland. And guess what? We are getting a whopping 270 Primo Gems for interacting with the Miliastra Wonderland. Now, that is not even 2 pulls. So the motivation is pretty low, and I'm being completely honest. I'm not a fan of Miliastra Wonderland. I'm not going to be touching that game mode just for 270 primos. Hey, I am desperate for primos, but I am not that desperate, okay? But if you are going to do it, I mean, that's your personal choice, man. Like 270 primos is way too low. The main concern is this is a real event in the game. It's going to stay in the game for months, for like 3 weeks, and it only rewards 270 primos. If you are someone who doesn't care about Miliastra Wonderland, the only reward you are getting from a 21-day event is just 270 primos. That is really low when you consider the fact that they could have put in some other event out here, and that could have given a lot of primos that you could have used in the game. But it's going to give you stuff for Miliastra Wonderland, and if you don't interact with that game mode, this event is absolutely a waste of time for you. Basically, 21 days wasted on an event that you're not going to interact with. Pair that with the really less number of events in this patch in general, and you have a pull economy that is looking very bad. And not just that, a lot of other things have been going on in the Genshin community lately, like hoyoverse suddenly changing the design of Sandrone. Basically making her more fan servicey. I know a lot of Sandrone fans who had been waiting for her for a really long time were absolutely pissed. Aside from that, there were also a lot of issues that are still not addressed in Genshin. I mean, let's be real, resin is still a problem. Weekly talent material domains are still a problem. Basically capping people from farming resources, time getting people from leveling up. These are all problems in Genshin that have been since the starting of the game. Now, Genshin has definitely improved over the years. They have made a lot of QoL improvements, but these problems that have been plaguing the game ever since the beginning of the game are still present. And honestly, when so many things start to go wrong, players' opinions really do start changing. I mean, if you have been taking a look at all the Genshin protests that we have for the longest time, there was always a big opposition to these protests. Like, a lot of players still supporting Genshin, calling out all the protesters, saying that they are just creating unnecessary chaos, they are just hating the game for literally no reason. But all the protests that you have been seeing in the recent time is a bit different. Not a lot of people are actually supporting Genshin this time, and that is the more concerning bit. I mean, in all of these videos where these content creators are talking about problems in Genshin, most of the comments are still against Genshin. If this was, let's say, a year back, this scenario would have been very different. A lot of people would still be supporting Genshin. Most of the comments would be in favor of Genshin, or there would be a 50-50 divide in the player base, with like half of the players defending Genshin as diehard players, as diehard fans, and half of the people are completely against Genshin. That is how it would have been a year back. But if you take a look at the general player opinion right now, most of the people are actually against Genshin. And that is not good. That is definitely not good for a game, because you can see the player opinion of this game drop rapidly. I feel the biggest problem that has happened with Genshin is hoyoverse wanted to make this game for a totally different kind of audience, and a totally different kind of audience ended up playing the game. You know, when Genshin launched 6 years back in COVID, everyone was at their home, everyone had a device, an internet connection, and everyone was looking for a way to kill time. This was the best opportunity for a video game to blow up, and Genshin dropped and absolutely blew up. That is why not a single gacha game has been able to come even close to Genshin when it comes to success. But the problem with that big success is that you don't attract niche players who you are looking for. You attract every kind of player, okay? People who may like the concept of your game, people who may not generally like the concept of the game but ended up playing it anyways because that was the most popular game at that time. And that is what I feel like hoyoverse has walked into. Hoyoverse never really intended Genshin to be a game for hardcore players. I mean, take a look at all the events. Most of the events in Genshin are mostly focused on the casual player. Most events take a few minutes to play. They generally have very easy minigame modes, something that, you know, a casual person, someone who doesn't really want to min-max anything in the game would enjoy. They are like short, small mini games that are fun and generally targeted towards the audience who does not play games seriously. Even if you take a look at the story and the overworld content, not a lot of the content is hard. In story, they just give you the characters straight up, so you don't even have to build characters to play the story. Even in the overworld bosses, most of the overworld bosses are pretty easy, and for the little bit difficult ones, you can co-op and play with others. Even in artifact domains and material domains, you can co-op with others. And any event that has a combat challenge, which is pretty difficult, they give you trial characters or they give you an option to play with others. So Genshin has never really wanted players to start min-maxing their characters. Hoyoverse never really wanted that. It is a slow-paced game. Everything in Genshin is meant to take time. That is why talent material domains are not open every single day. That is why overworld resources take 48 hours to reset, and there is a lot of quality of life stuff that is missing in the game, such as the game straight up showing you how many chests are left in a particular region, or the game straight up telling you how many oculuses are there, okay, marking every single objective in the game, because the game, Hoyoverse, does not want you to rush through Genshin. It's for the people who are casual players who don't really have like 10 hours a day to grind the game, so they're going to be logging in for a few minutes, they're going to be playing the game, doing whatever objective is in front of them, and enjoying the story, enjoying the music, taking in the sceneries. That is the kind of players Hoyoverse has always intended to target. And you can clearly make it out from their events, from the way they have been focusing more on story and music rather than QOL, from the way that they have not really been focusing on putting more endgame into Genshin, rather putting in more mini games, more fun modes. For example, the Astra Wonderland, that was totally made for casual people, right? A lot of people have been asking for QOL and endgame. Hoyoverse puts Astra Wonderland. So you can totally see that focus of Hoyoverse was never the hardcore player, the player who min-maxes every single character, who is going for the perfect stats, who is going for perfect Abyss clears, perfect Stygian Onslaught clears, right? Who wants to skip through all of the story, who wants to get their characters to max level as soon as possible and beat everything. Genshin was never a game that was made for these kinds of people. And the problem that happened was when Genshin exploded in the COVID era, it attracted all those players as well who were in for the hardcore content. I mean, let's be real, there was not really any other game like this out there, right? But the thing is, after 6 years, we have a lot of other gacha games in the market. We have Wuthering Waves, we have Arknight's Enfield, we have NTE, we have Ananta coming out. I mean, Ananta is not going to be a gacha game, but anyways, we have a lot of gacha games, and we also have a lot of other Hoyoverse gacha games in the market. So when these players who came into Genshin thinking that they're going to be hardcore farming this game see the other games add so much QOL for hardcore players, they generally tend to get angry, and that is where I feel like all this hate is coming forward. Player expectations are totally different from the kind of players Hoyoverse wants. There has been a huge gap out here, and that is why a lot of players are thinking that Hoyoverse is not listening to them. Hoyoverse is indeed listening to players, but it is listening to players it actually wants to cater, the casual type, okay? And that is why you will see casual players in Genshin who enjoy the lore, who enjoy the music, who talk stuff about reading every single book they find in the game. Those kinds of players are really enjoying. I mean, take a look at Genshin lore. There is not really any other game out there that does lore as good as Genshin, right? So if you are a lore fan, this is basically a treasure trove for you, and Hoyoverse has been doing everything perfectly actually right for you. You don't have any complaints from the game at all. And that is the kind of audience Hoyoverse is still catering to. But if you are someone who came into Genshin with a hardcore mentality and you are seeing all the other hardcore games like Wuthering Waves doing a lot better than Genshin when it comes to QOL endgame, you are going to be disappointed with Genshin. So maybe it's time that you start questioning yourself. Are you someone who actually enjoys the story of Genshin? Are you someone who would sit and listen to Genshin OST for hours? Are you someone who reads every single lore? Or are you someone who is here just for the combat? And you are someone who wants the skip button? Because let's be real, if you skip the lore and the story in Genshin, is there anything that Genshin does better than any other game? Honestly, I don't think there is anything else. If you want combat, there are better games out there. If you want QOL, there are better games out there. If you want anything other than the lore, there are better options out there that do it way better than Genshin. So why are you in Genshin asking for a skip button? Because this game was never made for an audience like that. It is made for people who sit and listen to all of this yapping. Are your expectations in alignment with what Hoyoverse wants to do with the game? And in this case, I feel like player expectations are way off than what Hoyoverse wants from this game. That is why over the years, people have just been getting more and more stressed out with Genshin. They want something else from this game, and that is never going to happen. This game is never going to turn into something like that. So maybe it's time you move on and find a different game. See, I'm not trying to be a Genshin white knight or anything. I'm not trying to defend Genshin in any way, alright? Because I play a bunch of different gacha games. I play Wuthering Waves, I play HSR, I play Genshin, I play Arknight's Enfield, I was playing NTE, right? So I'm not really someone who is hardcore dedicated to Genshin. But what I discovered was the things that I needed from Genshin are just better in other games. For instance, I really like fast-paced combat. So I downloaded Wuthering Waves, and the fast-paced combat out there is really good. So I'm not complaining about combat in Genshin anymore because Genshin does not want to improve its combat. It's made for simple people, right? Simple people who like simple combat. So I'm not going to be complaining about it. Min-maxing my characters and stuff, that is something I do in Wuthering Waves. That is something I do in other games. I don't do it in Genshin because what am I supposed to do with a level 100 maxed out character when everything dies in 2 shots? Right? So there is no point in building your characters, and even in the story they give you free characters, so you don't even get to use your party in the story. So Genshin is clearly made for the casual audience. The question is, are you the casual audience or are you the hardcore audience? If you are the hardcore audience, you are asking for wrong things in the wrong game, and Genshin is never going to change. So maybe this is the best time for you to go and look at different gacha games, because honestly speaking, it couldn't be a better time to go look out for other games. We have way many games out there. We have so many good gacha games that you will probably find something that resonates with you. If this was 4 years, 5 years back, you probably did not have any other option, right? But now you have a lot of options. So question yourself, do you really want to put up with this? Do you really want to keep struggling and playing a game that is never going to listen to you? A game that was definitely not made for you? Or are you going to move forward and play another game? I think the answer is pretty clear, right? With that being said, yeah, this video was not to defend Genshin, but this video was just my opinion on the general situation of Genshin. I've been seeing so much hate regarding the game lately, and I feel like all the hate is very misdirected because everything people are demanding, Genshin is never going to do. It was never made for players like that in the first place. So all that hate is just going to make the community more toxic. If you guys remember 4 years, 5 years back, if you are an OG player, Genshin community was extremely wholesome. I mean, if you are a new player, you would go into the community, you were like, hey, how is my team? People would come up with useful suggestions, people would help you, people would join your world, and then, you know, I made a lot of friends through Genshin. But right now, you put in a team and you ask in the Genshin community how my team is, everyone is going to start trolling you. Everyone is going to be like, hey, bro, you don't know that this character doesn't work like this? Like, how am I supposed to know, bro? Maybe I'm a new player, right? The community has become way more toxic. And I believe a reason for that is because a lot of players who are playing Genshin are becoming frustrated with the game. So maybe it's time you move on. Maybe it's time you find something else. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys liked the video. What is your opinion on the situation of Genshin right now? Let me know down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one.